Hello, hello, and welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is Danny, and we have a fun show for you today. We're going to start off discussing the not self and signature themes, going through all the different types and what that means and why they feel that way and how do you work with that.
What is this crazy not self? And the signature themes and these questions and stuff, they don't get talked about enough, I don't think.
Yeah, you kind of just see it and you're like, great, I'm going to be bitter. That sounds fun,
Right. We always go straight to the not self. I think it's because what people identify with the most.
Yeah, and it's what you're going to see. And it's that thing that's like, you see that on your chart the first time, you're like, bitterness. And it just does, it gets you right at your core. And I imagine it'd be similar with like frustration for a generator and anger as a manifestor. It just kind of hits us. And I mean, Ra was going to shock us in order to get us to see. So it's like, you're going to shock someone with like the real icky thing before you're going to be like, oh, nice, success, yay, peace.
So in this case, it reads a little more like the story with a happy ending that we like to see in our movies, the not self leading to the promised land, signature themes, these questions. Yep, I like it.
Awesome. So thank you to everyone who is watching live and on the replay. Thank you for liking and subscribing and hanging out with us. We love having you here. So let's get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So first up, the type themes, right? So what is the not self theme? A not self theme is a signpost indicating the decision was made through the mind. These show up as anger, frustration, bitterness, and disappointment. And then on the flip side, or do you want to say something about the not self themes first?
Yeah, I was going to wait till you read through the whole thing, but we should deal with them separately. These not self themes, what is this not self? It's an incredible entrenched thing that people start to see when they wake up to their design, when we start to read for them and show them what's the scoop and how they're acting out the things they don't like. They notice it by the fact that they're relieved when they don't have to be it. Still left nervous and confused and plenty of things upon a first reading, but it's noticeable. It's like, I'm not supposed to be that. And that's the thing that winds them up. This not self is simply a field of conditioning that we've been in for so long that it makes us literally live out this thing that we're not. It conditions our mind to think that's how it's supposed to be. And so then mind starts playing tricks and thinking it thinks it knows what's best for us when it's really the themes, the signature themes that know what's best for us. And that's strategy and authority, which is not mind. So it's a bit of a mental trip, but not self is this thing that treats your body like a slave. It treats you like a slave. It makes us worry all the time. And we think that that's ours, and it is not.
Yeah, I feel like the not self is like your doppelganger.
Yep.
It's kind of like you, but like a little bit off. It's like the evil version of you in a sense. It's like you, but not you, and it kind of looks like you, but like the eyes are a little different. It's
That's
like
cemetery you.
cemetery
Really,
you.
because it fools you. So because you yourself, your true self, is wrapped up in there. You know what I mean? So you're always being versions of yourself and then versions of your not self. It's just that the not self is so profound, such a profound drag on and a resistance against our happiness in our lives and our way that it drags us down and makes us think that it's always there. Not self of an emotional wave. It will always go down. I always go down. Right. Well, there's a whole other side to that, which gets you to your signature. And so the not self is the conditioning, and it's the conditioning of the old way, right? It's the conditioning of 100,000 years plus or minus of seven-centered, strategic only, have to be better than everyone, must compete way that was once upon a time for us. It's no longer any so. And so it feels bad. It feels bad. It never feels good. And when we read for you, you start to see it, and shazam, these themes start to get experimented with. And that's what we want.
Yeah, it's like the comparison and competition side, where it's just like comparison is the thief of
Yes,
joy.
compare, compete. Yeah, yeah. And hate yourself
Yeah,
at times, and then hate yourself for hating yourself because you don't want to. And it's a mess.
it's
Not
like a
self is the conditioning that started from when we were young. It's everywhere in the world. Pick a thing, Moni. Just say a random thing about like what you bought yesterday.
Are you actually asking me this question?
Yeah, or I will. I went to the store and got some stuff. Well, I promise you at that store, the job is not right for those two boys that were there. It wasn't where their true self needed to be, and they were frustrated because the thinking is, I have to be here, and this world is set up to where that's partially true, just to make your way, and suddenly we're in a not self theme. The world is conditioning us. We have to turn it into something set up for us. But back to the not self theme, it treats us like a slave. It's its own personality that once erased is the wrong word. What should I call that? Once set aside and once compartmental, once put in its place.
Once put in its place, because it has its place. Like, it's the sign to be like, hey, you're going the wrong way.
Right,
So
right.
it's not like it's a bad, whatever, but it has its place as a signpost. It's not supposed to be like the skinwalker, like taking
Right,
over your life. It's just the
right.
signpost of you're going the wrong way.
Exactly. And so we do need it. We just need to see how it works in us. So we stop treating it like it's true and official as much as just a signpost steering us. Hey, go that way. Yeah. You know, good stuff.
Absolutely. So then on the flip side, we have the signature themes, which is the opposite of resistance, ease and flow. And this is what one experiences with the fulfillment of type and purpose. So these are peace, satisfaction, success, and surprise.
Yeah, I know these keynotes are all going to be in the next slide, so I'm not going to dig in them too much. But this signature theme becomes this thing that every time we experience it, because everyone will experience their signature theme over and over again, right? And it's wrapped up in these also questions. There's an actual question built into our genome. It percolates through our chemistry and causes our brain to formulate the actual looking at the question and measuring that. Well, I can't wait to get into those too. But it is so the opposite of resistance. When the manifestor's at peace, it's so good. When the projector feels that success, it's just, and we experience it throughout our lives over and over again. And the not self comes in and raises up a voice. Well, I need to do this, this, and this if I want to keep getting that. And it starts making decisions and it takes us away. So it's this constant going back and forth. What we do is pretend there's like a Pong game right on your computer screen. I'm dating myself clearly, and but it won't stop. Bong, 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 and then we're here and we interrupt that not self theme, the flow of that, which is a dirty flow. As we interrupt it, the game starts to slow down, and finally, the incessant banging against the wall that the Pong ball does ceases and turns into a dull roar that's manageable. And the signature theme is the thing that shows it. We just have to get people to see it. Would you say the signature theme is a little more rare than the not self theme? I'd say it's more rare most of the
In
time.
Yeah, and like especially in our current, like we're going from like the one end of the pendulum, like we're going to like from full not self, nobody really knows who they are unless you kind of happen to step into it and like bully good luck on you. But like for the most part,
Right.
most people are stuck in this not self place. So just by that very nature of like our starting point is like you're gonna see the frustration and the bitterness and the disappointment more, but then if you choose to play along with the human design game and play with your experiment, then you can start seeing it. You can start seeing those little bits in yourself or in others.
Mm.
And it just starts to make sense of it, where you're like, before I was just lost in this chaotic mess of anger and frustration, bitterness, disappointment, whatever. And then you're like, there's actually that comes up for a reason. That's not for nothing. You're not just a
Right.
frustrated person that's not for nothing. That's actually there because there's a mechanic behind it. It's like your blood pressure is not just high because it's high. Like there's something that is causing that. And maybe if you behave differently, maybe that could improve the quality of your life.
Right. And it's not a lot of heavy lifting in one respect. This whole experiment is you with yourself. You don't got to go into a program. It's just you watching yourself.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
like a
that's pretty good.
personal little game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's how I see human design. I'm like, I don't know. It's this little game that I play with myself, and I get to like set up these little experiments and see what happens and see what people do. Like, I find it so fun.
Last thing I can think to say is you brought up an important point, and you just mentioned, that heart condition or this or that. Illness and sickness in humanity originates through the not self. It
Yeah.
just does, with a few exceptions. With a few exceptions, you run into a toxic exposure, you're going to get sick, obviously. But I'm just saying the norm, ordinary daily lives of ourselves. That's the not self that wears down the resistance, pulls it down, and saps its vitality like too many weeds growing around a plant. Starts to sap it if you don't pull those weeds out. And it does that to us. And suddenly the body is receptive to whatever it wouldn't have been receptive to before as it relates to illnesses and chronic conditions and on and on.
It's like frowning uses way more muscles than smiling does. So it's like by being like frowny and angry, it's like
Yeah,
using up more energy. So like
totally.
maybe anger, frustration, bitterness, and disappointment. I mean, those seem to like sap your energy a whole lot more than when you're like satisfied and surprised. You're like light and bubbly when you're
Yeah,
surprised and
those
successful.
things give you energy.
There you
It's
go.
yeah.
Whereas like
It's
the
like,
not
what do you
self
mean
themes
gives
are
me
draining
energy? That's what do you mean? It gives you energy. 100%. And so you can see that one's way, but one is the amusement park where someone else totally paid for it and you got all the spending money you ever could want and it didn't matter. And the other is having missed the ride to it and now it's all your fault and everyone else went and you didn't and now life sucks. And you're
and you
14.
got to clean up the mess after everyone.
Yeah, and you're 14, so it means like everything in the world. Yep.
Fantastic. All right, ready to mosey?
Mm-hmm.
So, starting off, we're going to be talking about our manifestors. So, for manifestors, the not self theme is anger, and the signature theme is peace. And so, what defines a manifestor is that the sacral is undefined. Plus, they have a motor to the throat, so you can see it on our little graphic chart here. Those are the three like official manifested channels. There's other ways people could be manifestors, but these are the like manifestor channels exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And manifestors have an impactful aura that's pushing outward, and that actually protects them from undue influence. They're supposed to just like do their own thing, like Moses part the Red Sea, and like don't mess with them, don't influence their trajectory. But that impactful aura also knocks into people and like pushes them around, so they kind of turn into the Kool-Aid man. And other people, it makes them nervous and untrusting. Like, what is this manifestor going to do? Like, they might bump into me, they might ruin something, they might impact me. And so then there's like a nervousness, and then they try to like control the manifestor. The manifestor hates feeling controlled. Then the manifestor, in order to not be controlled, is like, well, I'm going to do it and not tell anyone. And they fail to inform, crash into more people. They get angry. The manifestor gets angry. Everyone's angry. Whereas on the flip side, by informing, the manifestor clears the resistance, and then they experience peace. Like you could watch a manifestor that'd be like, I'm gonna go do this, and you're like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. And like all the energy like drops around them, and then they could like free flow to do whatever they want by simply informing.
And it clears the space in two really cool ways. It puts at ease the people that love that manifestor and just get energetically put at ease because they got informed. Even if they have something to say, the manifestor will be quick to say something back. Yeah, yeah, no, I gotta. Yeah. And so now they're informed. And if the person, on the other side of that pendulum tries to impede them, it identifies forces that will keep giving resistance, and it lets that manifestor return that call a lot less, be in that aura a lot less. Whatever it takes for this manifestor to push their way through their aura. What is it with aura? Everyone's got this aura, right? This electromagnetic signature around us. It extends out an arm's length, a little bit more, every single direction. We feel it when we come into the aura with the other. We know it. We're always explaining it. You make me feel good before you even say anything. That's aura. um, their aura is tightly compacted. It does push outward, but it pushes outward up to just this limit. It's like because it stays hard and a type of, it's not as dense as the reflector aura, but it's a type of denseness that says you're not breaking through because I'm putting out this thing that knows it can just go and do. You're not breaking through. I'm not going to let it happen. And it's not their mental process that's doing that. It's the energetic assist that literally comes off of their body. This closed and repelling. The word repelling is there for your benefit. It repels resistance. Just picture the running back running down, and everyone's trying to tackle him. If you're the manifester, if you have plenty of rest, then it's a repelling aura. You want that. A manifestor can walk through a crowd and just sort of push it out of the way a little bit. Again, it's not like a shield that actually smashes a person, although sometimes it feels like that.
It definitely feels like
Yeah.
that. At
And
least on the projector side of like, oh my God, when a manifestor doesn't tell me what's going on and they just bash into me and they don't know, but it's just like, oh my God, it's like being whacked by like the Kool-Aid man. Like it's a
that's
whole,
funny.
yeah.
That's funny. I get it. Oh, I'm open and receptive, so I guess I just see that like everything else, although it does push me out of the way if it wants it that way.
Yeah, but
Um,
it's amazing because then they could just do stuff. Like they could
right.
just make things happen
So
that
what's their gig? Their gig is to initiate, right?
yeah.
Right. They are here. They're the only type that's here to initiate and just quote do first. And they don't really need permission. The informing isn't to get permission. The informing is strictly to inform and find out where the forces are that need to be, you know, pushed out of the way, and where are the forces that simply needed to be informed. That's one of the ways they know to get to their signature. So they run into too much resistance. People try stopping them, and the anger flows. You played that out and talked that out really good. They need to know that anger is a chemistry. It's wisdom. It's literal wisdom saying wrong direction, wrong set of variables here, too much resistance, not good for you, not good for you. And it also, when you really start to see it in its impersonal way, it also is, and it doesn't mean they're bad. Even if I feel annoyed, you know what I'm saying? It still doesn't make them bad. So you can take the personalness out of doing whatever it is you do with them, and it becomes kinder. And by the way, that's another type of informing to them. They're informing them that they're too much resistance for me, you know, so they inform all the way around. Then suddenly they fall into, as soon as they're doing the thing that they're no longer being resisted on too terribly or not at all, they start to receive this chemistry of peace. So the first chemistry is anger, and it is not a mental concept, right? It's not a mental concept. It is straight up this body filled with this incredible complex chemistry, constantly reinventing itself, springing out, in the manifestor's case, very much out of the thymus and the gall of them, to start to feel almost like an acidy burn that gets them, starts to fire them into a type of anger that can sustain, you know, for a medium term, just sustain. Um, and as soon as they see that as their signpost, oh my God, something's amiss here. I didn't inform right. It's like, and you're put it in a regular example. Well, I don't know if I want you to go. And so suddenly the manifestor starts getting, well, I'm telling you, I'm going. They literally can push that out of the way now on purpose, compartmentalizing it with words that have the empathy of, we're at a disconnect, but I'm feeling the resistance inside of me, and but I do still have to go. I love you, but I'm walking out the door for right now. We'll talk about it when we get back. If there's going to be a fight, then so be it. If not, you know, I love you. I'm leaving. I'll be back though, right? They can always inform them I'll be back, right? It's not like I'm moving to Texas now or whatever. So one is with awareness and the other just blows up angry. And one, the latter leaves that guy driving down. Notice how I give the manifestor a guy figure. Leaves that dude getting in his car and going wherever he's going at peace, far more so. And now his creative is there. The manifestor's here to be at peace so that they can make their impact and ask their signature question, which makes them feel so good. What's my impact here? What have I gotten done? What's the deal with how cool it is now after I've done all my stuff? How much do I love doing? Oh, I love the doing. Yeah, that's peace to this person, right? And then, you know, then they get to rest after, because they just done a lot, and that's peace as well. So peace is an incredible place by which all your friends are so well impacted. Just, you got to get there. We got to show you, but you got to get through the anger first. And don't deny it, by the way. You get angry, so just get used to it.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to one of the things you said where it's like for all the other types, like the strategy like makes sense within it. For the manifester, it's like ostensibly they don't need to inform. They can just go do stuff. They can just walk off the door and go on a little adventure without a problem for them at least until
For
they come
them,
back and
for
everyone's
them,
mad at them, right?
right?
But ostensibly they can do what they want. So it's like the strategy for manifestors is really like it's just a strategy to make their lives easier and to make everyone around them a little bit more at ease as well.
What are
Because
we afraid of, Moni?
you don't know what they're gonna do. Like,
Right.
it's getting whacked in the face. Like, I have a nephew who's a manifester, and it just like since he was like 3 years old, even younger, but like as they really start to run it around, it was just like, I don't know what you're gonna do, and I'm a little terrified of you, and I don't
Right.
know how to contain you because you're just a wild thing. And that's
Right.
this like, and then like you're overly trying to control, and then they get mad, and it all blows up, and all this and that. But compared to if you're just like declarative statements with the manifester to the manifester, and for the manifester to just declarative statement of like, I'm going to go do this, I'm going on a walk, like just informing. And by just informing the person, it just like all the tightness that happens around a manifester, because you're like, I don't know what they're going to do, and the energy is all tight, and as soon as they inform, it just like turns to jello, and it just like, and you're like, sure, do whatever you
Mm.
want, I don't even care. Like it,
Absolutely goes way, way down. In fact, once they inform you, you're generally relieved. It's like,
mm-hmm.
good. That impact that I didn't necessarily want in the moment is walking out the door. Okay. Maybe. I mean, that's just the thing. And so when both partners in a relationship, for instance, start to become aware, boy, can they just let the other be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But yeah, so it's like that piece for the manifester in just telling people, especially if they know they can do it without getting grief about it. You're like, I'm going to go do this. And you're like, no one's going to try to stop them. And they can just feel free to inform and then do about their business. It's going to be peace for them and also peace for everyone around them, because they're no longer feeling that tension of like, what is the manifester going to do?
What are they going to do? And that's scary to the other. And it's scary in ways that they can't quite verbalize. So it's below the surface in a way. Because again, it's just between the two auras. They're touching each other, they're communicating, and that manifestor aura is designed to A, impact the other, and B, repel their resistance, and then close off to them if needed, and or open up to them if needed. Closing and repelling is the state in which they manifest, but it opens up as others join. So the manifestor's here to create the impact, and then the rest of humanity literally follows in the wake of that impact, one way, shape, or form, abstractly or a couple arms length away, indirectly. We're all, that's what's happening.
Super cool. Ready to mosey?
Hmm.
So next up, we have our generators. And for generators, the not self theme is frustration, and the signature theme is satisfactions. So generators have a defined sacral and no motor to the throat. And so they have an open and enveloping aura that's pulling everything towards it. And the sacral response indicates the energetic availability. By initiating action, they're bypassing the sacral, and then they'll experience frustration, or by ignoring their sacral response, then they'll also experience frustration. Whereas on the other hand, waiting to respond and honoring their sacral is how they'll find satisfaction.
Yeah, that waiting to respond is so hard. When I first heard it, it sounded literally counterintuitive. It's just funny. It's funny. Anyways, so the generator, I guess we're going to do the manifesting generator separately.
Yep.
Just as a general precursor, generator's a generator's a generator. You got a sacral, you're a generator of some sort, and you've got the same strategy. So, but there are definite nuances and big things that are different. So, no motor directly to the throat. This open enveloping aura, it's inviting everyone in. It invites all the energies in it. It's the opposite of closed and repelling. It's just open and enveloping. Actually, that is the opposite of, now I think of it. And this open enveloping acts like a sinkhole, and things draw to it. 70% of the planet is a generator, and 70% of the time we're all drawn into the other and trying to do something together. This is always, always happening for the generator. It's very confusing, but the strategy itself makes it make sense. If your aura is open and enveloping, and it allows people to sort of fall into your aura even slightly, just along the course of your life, a lot, it means having the strategy of waiting to respond gives you truth in the now. As you start to see it happen, it's every time. The thing about it is this availability of this energy is frustrated when it's doing something that the sacral motor has not given its permission to release energy for. So the sacral motor itself, in both types, in both the manifesting generator and the generator, that sacral is showing its wisdom for you and its truth for you, not in some conscious awareness of the particulars of what's happening, but just in this overall awareness that this not I'm not giving you all the energy. And you know that as I had to schlep myself out of bed and I had to and everything was low energy at that point. That's low energy, and frustration can be seen as one and the same. It's just frustrating. It's dragging at you. It's dragging in your energy and sapping your vitality, no different than the resistance for the manifester. And the same will be true as we get through the other two types. And this sacral is this amazing capacity to act as a diaphragm. It's like dialed into the core of the earth. It's dialed into responsiveness of the entire universe for all we know. You know, it's clearly dialed in because every time a generator waits to respond and they just respond, hey, blah, 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 that response ends up being right for them. They end up knowing it because the difference between their two, their signature and their, well, the frustration, which is their not self, and then the signature of their satisfaction comes with such an energy boost. It's incredible. And every generator knows it. It just comes with an energy boost. Every generator knows it. They see it. They wish it was that way. And the not self mind is constantly recognizing the frustration and thinking that frustration is a permanent condition, a nagging condition that I have to live with all the time, when in reality, the frustration that you can witness starts with low energy, lower energy than whatever it is when you're psyched about something or just doing it, perfectly happily. And then as soon as that energy does get released, sacral says yes. And that's it. That's why it's wait to respond, because in the now, the sacral moves with its responsiveness at essentially the speed of chemical electricity. So it's immediate. It's about as fast as I've always said this, as fast as as a battery will turn on a flashlight. To us, that's immediate. And and it gives us energy or it retracts it. And we have to receive that chemistry. And by the time it percolates up to mind, half a second later, we're making all kinds of reasons for this. We're thinking of ways to fix it. How can we add a little more salt and pepper and a little extra flour to this already rotten recipe to make it taste a little bit better? My solution is just pour enough sugar on it and everything tastes good. But it doesn't really work. So we get the generator witnessing the difference between these two, the frustration and satisfaction, and then suddenly we give them permission to ask the genetic question inside their genome, tickling their chemistry, having their chemistry tickle the mind to ask it all the time, who am I? Who am I? What am I to this? I here, I am there. What am I? Where am I? Mostly and definitely, who am I? 70% of the planet, who am I? Right angle or left angle, juxtaposition, doesn't matter. Who am I? So we condition the rest of the planet to ask the same question, by the way, because we're 70% of the planet. So manifestors condition the planet to just go do. Only 9% of the planet's designed to literally just go do and cut through that resistance like no sweat. Everyone else is waiting. And we're conditioning the world to work too hard and generate all day and to keep asking, who am I? So all the self-help out there is for who am I? Isn't that about right? I mean, all the self-help out there, every book, all
Know
the
thyself.
know thyself, get to know the things. And it's important everyone know their design, but you'll see these questions change. So we've got the manifestor, what's my impact? And we got the generator, who am I? In answering that and in translating that through your existence, boy, is that satisfying as you're living that out. What you end up being is you recognize you are the satisfied one. That's what you're here to notice. You're here to notice, oh, now that I see the difference because I'm in my human design experiment, the question of who am I is answered every time I notice the satisfied version of me. That's who I am. And the frustrated, confused, nervous, inadequate self having to prove under pressure, that's who I'm not. And suddenly all the generator's been given all these little gifts from God because our question is so natural to our type, which is so natural to our strategy, which is so natural to the planet because we make up 70% of the people. So generators, we got the easiest time of it, although we demonstrate that it appears to be the hardest time of it. That's our not self treating us like a slave. So we'll get over that soon enough, as soon as we read for y'all.
That's,
I
that's great. Good job.
liked it. You got anything to add?
One of the things I find interesting, it's like with the sacral. Um, I've heard the sacral like described as like a diaphragm,
It's a
and so
diaphragm.
yeah, and so like what I think of that as like your actual diaphragm muscle, which is like the muscle that's like pulling open, like it's like the muscle that's opening like your lungs so you can breathe. And I've
Mhm.
also heard the diaphragm with the lungs described as an umbrella. And you can imagine that as like the umbrella is like opening and closing, and it's opening and closing. And so using that analogy onto the sacral in that kind of way of like this immediate response where this umbrella is either like opening or closing, where it's like, are you breathing in or are you breathing out? And when it's like, hell yeah, I'm into it. I mean, it's like a hose. It's just like free flow of energy. Whereas when that sacral is not into it, it's like that umbrella is just like, nope, no sacral energy, that none shall pass, and there's nothing to actually fund that activity that
And
the
how
non
does the sacral know that?
well, the
One,
sacral, it
no,
wouldn't know it. The sacral is just acting in
how does it come
response.
to know? How does it come to know it? How does the being with the sacral come to know it? They see that,
They
oh,
witness the response.
I had this response. So get used to always looking, well, God, I had this response. Or I curtailed this response that was about to come out of me. I stopped it because my mind said to, because I did calculating in my mind rather than just listening to sacral um, at first. The diaphragm is actually really cool because in a diaphragm, anything that touches it, it can bounce right back off of it. And that's what happens um, as things come into the generator. Anything, sounds, people, words, situations, the next moment. It's really as the next moment comes into the generator, because the next moment is coming into all of us, right? And as it comes into the generator, their sacral is constantly responding in the now. So when a generator gets used to recognizing, I can put myself in the now and suddenly I'm satisfied, that's when they find out, who am I? Let's get you in your experiment generators. Come on along. You wanna.
Perfectly ready to mosey to manifesting
Mm-hmm.
generators. So here we have our manifesting generators. So they get a little bit of both. They experience both the frustration and the anger as their not self themes, as well as satisfaction and peace as part of their signature themes. So manifesting generators, you can tell the chart by having a defined sacral and a motor to the throat. It's that combination. And so the manifesting generators have an open and enveloping aura that's pulling everything in, and the sacral response indicates energetic availability combined with the manifestor's urge to initiate. And by initiating action and bypassing the sacral, they'll experience frustration, and pushing to initiate without waiting for the sacral response, you can experience the anger. And then on the flip side, by waiting to respond and honoring the sacral, they'll experience satisfaction and balance, and also balancing their response with informed action, they'll experience peace.
Yeah, and the informed action is the response itself. That's why generators, to get into the experiment, is we have the capacity, manifesting generators all the way around, have the capacity to literally witness their experiment the moment they're told it. The moment they're told it, the next moment after they're told it, they have the capacity to physically see it working inside of them. Now, the manifesting generator does want to initiate, so they get a little bit of a harder time of being a generator because they have that natural manifesting component inside of them. But the Buddha, the red sacral inside the body graph that demands your surrender, says, no, 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 my child. I don't care what you are. If I'm lit up in your body graph, if I'm defined in your body graph, you will pay homage, you will wait, or you will be frustrated over and over again. The gray hair sooner, fat belly sooner, food conditions sooner, all the things sooner in your life, and they just come all the way around. So the anger component, frustration and anger, they can very easily go together. But the thing is, the manifesting generator's anger burst isn't meant to sustain like the manifesting generator's anger burst isn't meant to sustain like the manifester. Manifestor's anger sustains as long as it sort of needs to basically get it in that right direction. Ours is constantly leaving It doesn't want to stick around because that's not our normal place. That's the conditioning. And by the way, I don't receive any peace. I'm just sat. When I get to satisfied, we can add the word peace to it because it is peaceful. I do like that. But the sense of peace that I witness in manifestors is nothing, is such a minor component to the deep satiating effect of the satisfaction. And it's always when doing what the generative life force demands, using our body somehow, like just moving something. And thinking will do that too. You can think. Thinking is moving a lot of energy, but it's still, we're in motion, busy, and busyness is a theme here. And the only other difference really that's really super worth pointing out is that generators will move level by level, gaining mastery. Both types, both, I shouldn't call them types, both the MG and the regular generator, um, we're always looking to master. It's our effort and our satisfaction comes with mastery of something and a thing, and then it morphs into something else, and it just becomes a journey. And we're always learning to master something, and the generator will go, level by level, more so into that mastery, not exclusively. And the manifesting generator will skip around to it almost always, but again, not necessarily exclusively, just mostly always. And they'll skip around to different sections. One looks erratic, one looks like a good student in a class, right? And the conditioning would say the good student in the class is good, and the one skipping around, well, he's got problems. Maybe he needs to talk to somebody. Let's give him some labels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, no good. Labels are conditioning. They always have been, they always will be, one way, shape, or form. And it's just the generator themselves that starts to recognize, if I relax, I'm not responsible for initiating. And that satisfaction, by the way, is so deep and profound. It is a satisfaction that goes hand in hand with, at the end of a day, physical exhaustion. In fact, if you're truly exhausted after having generated a day that was felt good, um, that last moment before you go to sleep is almost the deepest satisfaction. Maybe that 10, 12 minutes, 15 minutes as you're turning off the engine, and you're not really turning it off because it doesn't turn off until you fall asleep. It degenerates into sleep so that you can now go to the other side, and then it regenerates awake the next day. So if the generator's frustrated, that sacral motor manifesting generator is not being used at what it wants to be, and anger shows up quickly, but it's really frustration that's just on steroids, gone too far. Because again, the MG's anger is only meant to snap, like, I was describing it to you earlier today, Moni, right? The snap of it all. And didn't we change anger? I called it violence first, but
And
we
then
changed it.
aggression.
Aggression was the word. Yeah, because I watched myself do it today. Something was in the way, and I just smashed it out of the way. I had to go pick it up afterwards, which was, I didn't mind because I got to sort through the things. I threw out some things I didn't need, but I only went back to do it after the thing that was aggressively on its way to doing the thing, which was already a response in the first place. And it was all gardening today for me, you know what I mean? But I was on the way, ah, and then so that's the, let that stuff come out. It's only meant to just like get something moving, but wait to respond to find out the truth of doing it first. And you will get this satisfaction of recognizing what your days are supposed to be all about.
Mm-hmm.
Good generators wait.
Wait to respond. And then also, I would say there is a little bit of that, hey, maybe inform people what you're doing sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love my manifesting generators in my life, but a couple of them, it's like when they don't let us know what's going on. And again, especially as like a super open projector type, it's like they can feel like tornadoes, where just like they're
Right.
going here, there, and everywhere, and they're jumping around and they're skipping steps. And it's like super cool. That's your process. I'm just going to stay out of your area. And if you want me to be around, just let me know what you're doing. Just like give me a heads up.
Moni, describe the difference, if you can, between the sense of the manifester, which is like a little bit hard on you, and the generator, which I imagine is a little bit frustrating. And
Yeah,
but they're different.
yeah. Are we talking about not self? how it
Yeah,
feels?
yeah. Well, just the aura, the one that impacts you and gets you out of the way versus
Yeah,
the
yeah. The manifester are just like that harder aura, and they're very gentle on the inside. They're like little
yeah,
crabs, where it's like they're so squishy and sensitive. Manifestors are almost like the most sensitive on the inside because they don't realize that they have that hard shell that's pushing into you.
yeah.
And the difference between a manifester who's like chill and tells you what they're doing, you're like, great, have fun. I don't even care. And the manifester who doesn't, where you're just like, this is tense. I don't know what they're going to do. Please don't bash into me. Is the
Right. And
feeling
now the
around it.
generator that doesn't inform.
Yeah. Well, the generator who's frustrated, it's go like pure generator frustration. That can feel like when you're boiling water and like it's like the pot lid is like rattling and you're
Okay.
just like, oh no, they're about to blow, they're about to blow, is kind of like how the frustration feels. And then with a manifesting generator, they're just like Speedy Gonzalez version of that. They're just like bouncing around more. They're frustrated, and it could feel like a tornado, like a Tasmanian devil, like the cartoon where it's just like bopping around, where you're just like, I don't know what's happening. You're going everywhere. And if I, as a projector, if I'm near enough to that, my undefined sacral will like fall into the flow of the defined sacral, and now I'm like caught in their current of frustration, and I don't know what to do or how to exist in this space or how to make
Hmm.
it better, nor am I being invited to do so. So that can feel very like chaotic.
Absolutely. I can totally see that. I feel pretty good with this. Remember, same question for the MG, for the manifesting generator. Who am I? Who am I? And you find out who you are inside of the satisfaction. That's where you find out who you are. And by the way, you're a pretty simple story. We all are. We just don't realize that. But the 4-year-old in you definitely knew. Definitely knew.
Yeah, if you have a defined sacral, you are basically a magic 8 ball.
I think so too. It's just you feel like a clown and no good
Of course.
half
I
the
mean,
time.
yeah, we
Yeah.
all do in our own silly ways, but basically, especially it's like if you're sacral authority, it's like you're a magic 8 ball. Just wait for that response and see what happens.
It guides you to the places that make you more satisfied with yourself and what you're doing and who you are. So we need, as generators, we need to answer this question, who am I? Because as we pop off answering this for ourselves, the whole world's tension dynamic will start to simmer down from wherever it is right now. I'd say we're in a tense world, Moni. It's tense. It's a tense mess.
Yeah,
Mess.
that's why I hide a lot. So
Yep.
please, generators, listen to your sacral responses. It'll make us all feel better.
We generate the frustration field that angers and pisses everyone else off. That's us. Sorry.
It's okay. It's getting better.
Getting better. Sorry to break it to you, but it's getting better.
All
I
right,
feel good.
let's mosey. So next up, we have our projectors, and the not self theme for projectors is bitterness, and the signature theme is success. And you can tell a projector on the chart because the sacral is undefined and there's no motor to the throat. Projectors have a focused and absorbing aura that peers into other people like a laser, and projectors are the only type to know the other. And so projectors, by initiating or inviting themselves, will experience bitterness. By offering unsolicited guidance, more bitterness. And others feel exposed and irritated, more bitterness. And on the flip side, by waiting for recognition and invitation, we will experience success, which tastes a whole lot better.
Yeah, what are some other words for this word success? Recognition, validation, acceptance, um, being wanted.
Yeah.
Um, Success also comes in victory. You know, I killed it, I did it. Accomplishment. So all of these words, right?
You're lighting me up with all of these. I'm like, yeah, I like these feelings.
Well, it's important to notice human design gives us a language. It's up to us to finesse that language so we can like speak it and not sound like a robot, you know? Um, but the difference between the two, to me, is even more apparent than that anger between anger and success. I mean, anger and peace. It's wicked obvious, and I'm glad it's obvious because technically speaking, if we're on one of those long away ships and we've all been put in pods, it's the projectors that get woken up first, I would think. 100 years later, we've reached our destination in the cryopods. I would think, a couple of projectors were the first ones to awaken. be woken up to wake everyone else up, to
No, we
direct
get the hit
things.
early. Like, absolutely, as projectors, we notice things before other people do. We notice what other people need before they know they need to, like, even like think they need it. It's actually like really, really trippy because we'll notice something, be like, this will help this person. And you're like, here, I have this thing, it will help you. And they look at you like you've lost your mind because they haven't even realized that they needed the thing that you noticed that they need. Because we
Right.
do, projectors get this like early hit on something, so we got the heads up, but then we have to wait for it for the other person to come to us and ask us for it because we get the early notes and they get it later. So it's like this funny
Right.
thing because we just notice things and we just want to help because we're just little puppy dogs. But if we do that, it never works out. And yeah, the bitterness is a thing. Even like with going into the word of like bitterness, it's like a taste thing, and it's just like it's a bitiness. It's this like it's like a rancid, bitter, bitey kind of taste in our
A
mouths.
resentfulness.
Resentfulness. We turn so awful. It's such a deep, like bad taste in your mouth kind of feeling for projectors. It's really
Hmm.
sad.
Yeah. Retribution, thoughts of retributions and thoughts of harm. And absolutely, all these things come flying through. Now, that's who you're not. That's who the projector is not. Because on the other side, with all this accomplishment, it happens because the projector starts to recognize, oh, if the generator gains mastery at at pounding the nail, and they pound the best nail, and they frame great houses, and they keep pounding, and they find all kinds of creative ways, and so they're working, and they do it. But it still came back to pounding the nail and pounding the nail. That's a good generator. The projector bumps that game up, and they enjoy, which gives them great success, multiple masteries. Every projector has these multiple aspects of little, they're always mastering other systems more. They, the capacity to master a little system and to dig into the little nuances of whatever's there so they can recognize what's worth knowing, what's worth, having, and all of that. That gives them great success. So if you're a projector, recognize you do love to master systems. One of the most important systems you end up mastering, which is very successful for you, is because you're neither a generator nor a manifester. You become master at the recognition of all things as it's required for manifestors and generators, and all things as it relates to manifesting and generating. You become wise in all of this through the open sacral and through your type. Remember, this aura is focused and penetrating. It's a concentrated aura. It digs right into the G center of the other, coming to basically to a point. Comes to a point as a shape, as it shows on the picture. And as it goes into the other, it makes the projector, this is why recognition is so important to them. So if they end up waiting for the invitation, and the invitation is, I feel invited, just it doesn't have to be a formal thing. It's just, a nod across, yo, from across the room. That's an invitation. You know, locking eyes and a smile is an invitation. It's like, someone you hadn't seen for a while. Um, Once you start seeing that brings you energy. All these things bring the type. It's energy. Yeah, generators don't have a monopoly on energy. We just have a monopoly on the sacral. But they bring the type, the energy it needs to feel successful. That's why whenever you have a good encounter with someone, it feels good. Even though they had to walk their way and you went your way, and you both had to go run your errands, maybe you ran into each other, so it felt good, and that ends up motorizing and energizing the projector towards that success because they felt recognized, they felt invited, they felt seen. And that's the thing, because the projector is neither a manifestor or a generator, it feels unseen. The projector child can very much end up being the projector wallflower child, all too often. I'm not saying 100% of the time, but often. And that's because their energy is different. And their question is, who are you? You, one person at a time, sometimes multiple people. It could be a crowd, sort of, but it's who are you? It's one person. And that who are you requires the recognition of the other in order to get at the question. That recognition of the other from the other of you is the invitation. So recognize how that mechanic works. The other has to recognize you, like see you. Moni, I see you. And suddenly you feel recognized. And in that feeling of recognized, I start to invite you in. And now you can start to answer. And me as a generator, and you will start to answer, who am I? Because you're answering, who are you? And that who are you for the projector helps them gain the most important mastery of all, the mastery of their chart and who are they, as it relates to asking a question, who are you, all the time. So how satisfying and how successful and how good and how much energy does it give you when suddenly you're looking into who are you with another that has invited you to do so, when you feel at the same time you feel like doing so.
Yeah, no, it turns us on. It's almost like a little, like if you had like a little doll with like a turn screw or like a jewelry box or something like that. Like projectors, we require that recognition because the nature of having an undefined sacral and no motor to the throat, there's definition here, but it's not being powered out. It's not in response to go do a thing, but there's definition here that so wants to exist in the world and it wants to be out there, but we can't do it on our own. And that recognition is like turning the key on the jewelry box to like wake us up. And it's so alivening. It literally, like, my eyes light up, like when you invite me, when you recognize me, and when it's true, you know, and it's like when it's good, clean energy of it, we require it. It's just in how we function, and we love learning how the other person functions and helping them in their experience. And it really is this, who are you? Like the worst thing you could do is ask me like, who are you? What did you do? How did you? And I'm like, like we
Right.
freeze up and it like doesn't work and my brain like froze. I remember you asked me something a couple weeks ago and it was like a sacral question about myself and I was like, I just
I remember
completely,
that. You told me, it's like, you can't, that's a
I
sacral
glitched out.
question. It's a generator question. I can't answer it. Da, da, da. And
Stop asking me generator
I was like,
questions.
dang, what's this? It's just, it's a valid question.
It is, but it was just like the wrong framing of the
Wrong frame,
question.
wrong tempo. Absolutely.
Exactly. And so, yeah, like it really
I
is this
remember.
outward pointing thing of, you know, when anyone else, you show a generator their human design chart and they're like, tell me more about me. And you show a
Right.
projector and they're like, give me the charts of everyone I know and tell me about all these other people.
Right.
Like it's
Right.
just in how we are wired of it really is this outward pointing cone at the other person that's so deeply peering into them, which is amazing when they want it, when they're like, hey, I love how you peer into me, come on in. That's super
Hmm.
great. But projectors, we really have to be careful because we don't realize it. The stuff we see, it just like it's in front of my face. What do you mean? I just see this thing. But like we are seeing like into people's souls, like we're looking into the core of their identity, which we don't even notice that we're doing it, but that can be so jarring and hurtful and painful and like, you know, like you're breaking someone's modesty by like peering into them in that way when they're
Be
not asking
difficult.
you for
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so you
Because
we
it locks you in place, right? It's a little bit like a tractor beam on Star Trek. It holds the other ship in place a little bit
Yeah, to
to
a
a degree.
fault. No, no, like literally to a fault of I have to be so careful of like who I look at and who I make eye contact with because I'll so be into them and feel into them. Or if we accept a wrong invitation and you kind of get like, oh, okay, I'm into this thing, and you're like, oh no, I'm stuck here now. And we can feel so trapped until we're almost invited to leave, or it's fine, like, freak out, I gotta go. But
Mm,
yeah, to a fault, we really get locked into another person.
yeah, totally. So this bitterness is wicked important, just like the anger and the frustration. It is a chemistry. It pours out of your body, from your body, in an intelligence, giving you an intelligence that the mind cannot have, cannot comprehend. It can comprehend it. It can witness it as an experiment, but it can't be it. The mind is not the intelligence of the holistic body's chemistry. And then suddenly that chemistry hits the mind and it starts to cause bitterness. It starts to cause resentment for having wallflowered me, having put me aside, having not returned my call, having once recognized me and then just pulled back and stopped and not said anything, not informed me, not responded to anything. Again, you're a pro at all the things manifested and generated as a witness and as a director. That's what the projector's here for. And they're here to direct things. They're new. They're new as of 1781. The projector type showed up. There was no projector type before that. There might have been the essences of them as we were coming into this time, but there was not, and now there are. And they act as guides. And the thing is, when the projector penetrates, especially the generator, um, it's really primarily the generator. When the projector penetrates the generator, it's causing us to think of who am I as a generator, and that provides direction. That's why you guys are always giving us direction. It's in your existence. It's not because you thought of the flashy right thing to say. Sometimes it is, but essentially just existing goes peers into us and causes us to recognize who we're not ultimately, and guide ourselves towards who we are. And then they do it in other substantive ways as well. The bitterness becomes this incredible road sign. You get to see it, and you sort of stop taking it personally, because bitterness can get taken the most personally. I don't know how to take frustration and anger too personally. I guess I can, but bitterness is like, it's you.
Oh yeah, no, it gets
Yeah.
real personal, real to like the core of it all. Like we get mean. But
Mm-hmm.
on the flip side though, right? So it's like you notice that bitterness, don't take it personally, try not to, learn to witness it. But on the flip side is like what you're saying is when we meet a good generator, manifesting generator typically, and they invite that in, and we help the generator see who they are and where they're going, it can be so beneficial. And then they're so grateful. And that's part of that success that we feel is by helping the other in what they're doing and using their energy correctly. So then we feel better because their energy feels better. They appreciate us, they recognize us, and it's this true level of success. And then they like happily share their energy with us and carry us along for the ride.
Mm, indeed. Yeah, and that's exactly how it works all the time. There's always happy to share the energy. That's all we really got to share. We can't wait to share that stuff somehow, way, shape, or form. And then you guys start to feel the success of it all and this accomplishment. Um, Master your systems. Who are you is a good question. Respect your aura. It can lock people in place and lead to your bitterness, because when they try to break free, you wonder what's wrong with you. Why did they reject or something? They're not rejecting. They just didn't want to be locked in place at that moment. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Um,
Just let them go. They have other things to respond to, other
and
things to
practice
do.
letting them go, even though it feels like crap at first because of something. That's your mind. That's not what's true, right? And just let them go. And after 10 times of successfully letting it go, you'll start to realize it's easier on me too.
Oh yeah. And you leave them on a high point and they're all grateful. And then you're
Yep.
like, you offer something practical and then you go to get to rest and everyone's like, oh my God, that projector was so great.
Right. Literally. Yep. Yep. Exactly. And then you start to master various systems, because the energy that you enjoyed finding and being around, guiding, directing, wondering who are you, all of that stuff ends up teaching you, because the question is, who are you? It's also, who are you answers, what do I really care to master? It helps answer it. It becomes an important ingredient in the answer soup of what do you intend to master and what will you master? Little systems of this and that. And so we're in a symbiotic relationship as it relates to that. And let bitterness be this great signpost. It's like, I know that feeling. It's hard to miss. It is a chemistry, and it is a chemistry before it is a concept. That's the thing about our bodies and the wisdom inside of us, which is why we have a strategy. We have strategy and authority and type, but we're just really talking about our strategy. That What does that strategy do, Moni? Think about it. That strategy interfaces our conscious mind with the inner workings of of the behavioral aspects of our genetics and our genome, right down to the little telomeres of our genome. I mean, we have interface with that through strategy. My body gave me this sensation. I have a word for it. I don't like it, and I haven't liked it forever. And now that I know what it is, um, I'm going to learn to watch it and start to take it less personally, because it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Why do I punish myself? That's the thing about the not self. Every time you see it, it's not my fault. I didn't ask for that. I certainly don't want it. It's the thing one comes to. And then we move past that as its signpost, and suddenly everything's more successful. without
Perfect.
losing track of when enough is enough. That is, don't forget about that one, right?
Yeah. When you start feeling that pull, go separate and go lay down projectors.
Please. Happily, you're not missing anything.
No, you miss the good stuff if you miss the good stuff if you over push your sacral, but if you lay down and when you get that first little like I should go rest, then like you miss all the stuff you don't care about and then you get to show up for the good stuff.
Absolutely. So,
All right. Mosey.
Mosey.
So finally, we have our reflectors. And the not self theme for reflectors is disappointment, and the signature theme is surprise. And reflectors, you can tell their charts because there are no defined centers. All the centers are white. Reflectors have a sampling and reflective Teflon aura, and they see the potential in others because they're sampling other people's energy so they see what is possible for them. And reflectors, if they initiate to be noticed, they'll experience disappointment. If they act on foreign energy, they'll experience disappointment. But if they wait a full lunar cycle, as is their strategy, then they'll have an understanding energetic effect, and then they'll experience surprise.
Yeah, and this beautiful difference between the disappointment and the surprise, just as a strategy. If you're a reflector, one of the things you've got to recognize is you are different than the other three types. Being about 1% of the population means you don't know many of your type, if any. And you'll know one or two maybe somewhere, but you just don't really know them. They're almost certainly not your best friends, is the thing, and the people you grew up with and stuff like that. You're different. If you're a reflector, you're different, and you're what we call a lunar being. That doesn't mean you have moon dust in you and you somehow float on the moon or something kooky like that, or it doesn't really mean anything all that spiritual, although it does blossom into spiritual things big time. It just means as the moon runs around the earth, you, you that's you. You are so in tune with all of the gates and the transits that the moon gives you as it moves around planet Earth, and it activates you and lights you up in your whole body graph. You are working on a lunar cycle from full moons to new moons and the quarters in between. And you experience disappointment when your question can't even be asked, right? Because this asking of their question is, who are they? And what's my milieu? Like, what the heck? Where am I with all of them? Where's everyone else? What is this all about with all of these people? What are the people up to? And what do they mean to me? And that who are they means that they always end up with, in a posse. A reflector's a happy reflector, much more happily surprised with things when they're running with the right posse of peeps, when they're in the right relationship. But it's hard for them. This aura of theirs makes it difficult at times. That is a little hard to get. If you're a reflector woman, people can sometimes find that very alluring because it's resistant and sampling is the aura. It resists,
Mysterious.
huh? It's
There's like a
mysterious because
mystery. You can't
yeah, because
quite grasp the reflector. It's Teflon-y. It's
it's
a little
Teflon-y,
slippery.
yeah.
It's like, ooh, that's a little enticing. A
And
little.
it's dense. You totally can't get in. They're different from all the rest of us. They're lunar beings. We're solar beings. We work our stuff out on a yearly basis. They're working it out on a monthly basis, on a 28, 29-day cycle, lunar cycle. 13 of those every year for us. But we only have one. So they do 13 while we do one. Um, I mean, just that alone is a difference, a big one. And so what is it with this disappointment? So their aura is Teflon. It's dense. It's denser than even the manifester. It's totally dense. No one gets into this thing per se because they have to sample you first. So it's like holding at bay and taking a biopsy, holding at bay and taking a biopsy. And for the person trying to get in, it can feel hard for them to get into the reflector's aura, but that is there so that they can sample and get to the question. They get to know who am I by looking around and seeing where did they end up and who are they and what the heck is going on here.
And don't they have
That
that question of like, what is the program? Like, who is the program and how the program works?
good
Is
one,
that
Moni. I would have rolled right past that. It looks like, yeah. What is the program? And this also answers who am I because it becomes who am I to the program, is the thing. So this program starts with the moon, because just not to get too deep in the mechanics, but as the moon moves around us every month, it goes through all 64 gates. The moon goes through all 64 gates quickly. That those 64 gates ultimately will light up everything in the reflector's chart. Because even though this is a blank picture, the reflector will still have, um, you know, 20 or so activations in their chart like everyone else, just no definition. And those activations are waiting to meet up with the other side that the moon provides them over and over again. They're like a slinky, always moving through the month, like a slinky, and every one of yeah. So they have that's amazing. You have that sitting there. That's incredible. Um, so every single month, like cracking your back, click, 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 and it's all just right. And then you get to your fingers, and then you finally got your toe. You know what I mean? All of it. We all have done that before, and that's what they're doing every single month. It's like real. It's aligning them over and over again, because unlike us, sure, we get that definition, but we're solar beings, so we are our definition, Moni. If we got a definition in your body graph, even only one channel, you have a juxtaposition, you have a dynamic, you have definition, and you have openness. When you have all openness, every gate becomes a definition for 10 to 12 hours every month, a full on life force definition. And in doing that, they get along with all the various people in different ways at different times. It's how they sample, and it's how they sample and reflect back into themselves. Who are they? And it's how their disappointment will reflect out into the world, or their surprise will. And these two words, disappointment, picture the profound disappointment of she left me at the altar. Not just disappointment, my egg is runny, you know. Although that could be it. It's the profundity of it. You're watching a movie and the guy gets left at the altar, or the girl, whatever. I'm picking a guy because I'm a guy, gets left at the altar. You not for one New York second does the audience not see it written all over that person, that disappointment. That disappointment hits us as an audience, does it not? If it's a well done movie, it's whatever.
Yeah,
It
it's
hits us.
crushing. It's a
It's
crushing
crush.
disappointment.
Oh, the disappointment, crushing. Great word. So they get crushed under their own weight. They get crushed under the weight of the others, and under living out this disappointment as something they figure they just have to get used to, or accept, or surrender to, and their energy then leaves them, and they can't be the life forces that they are. Every month they're, you know, 2 dozen different life forces. Not 2 dozen. Every month there are at least 10 or 12 life forces, at least, right? More. There are 15 of them. There are many life forces. We're only the ones we're born with every month, and they don't get to experience those life forces except as a disappointment, because they somehow can't live it out. It's just no good.
We see this
Whereas,
like high potential. It's like
right,
you see with these open centers and like the not definition and the hiding centers and what you sample in other people. It's like, oh my God, it could be so amazing. It could be
right,
so cool. I feel like that's kind of the feeling. It's like it could be so cool. And then it's like trying to make the thing happen, not waiting the lunar cycle. And then it's like it could have been so cool, but like, no, it can't. It can never be that cool. It's just always going to be this crushing disappointment.
part of the waiting, by the way, just like the generator and the reflector, it's a nuanced thing. I'm just waiting to respond to something, so that technically makes me dumb as rocks every other time but the now, which is fine with me. You're waiting for the right invitation, which gives you a little more finesse and refinement to where your awareness is always pointing, because it's now aware that it's aware in that way. And the reflectors are literally getting their awareness through their movement away from the disappointment into the surprise. They're also getting the fact that the lunar cycle that takes that 29 or so days, they don't have to always wait a whole lunar cycle for every little thing, obviously. So they get to realize just the movement from between the two, the disappointment and the surprise. I would want a reflector to really journal and dig into disappointment and surprise, because the surprise side of it is elated, absolutely elated. Before getting left at the altar, the surprise was she said yes when he proposed, and now his whole day is filled with the surprise gives the energy. The surprise energizes the rest of the body graph and the life forces at hand at the time. That's why they're always receiving a surprise at any given time when it might be a different life force. They get to realize all of their different life forces they experience each month through the surprises and disappointments that they have or allow. Don't allow the disappointment. Who are they is not supposed to be some crappy answer. You're supposed to recognize that you're not in the right place sooner rather than later now that you're hearing this broadcast Moni and I are doing. For you, it's all about the place and the people. And as soon as you get to know that, and by the way, your consciousness won't evolve much beyond what the people around you are. So if you live in some really awful place, that's where you're stuck. Essentially, you got to learn to break out of that by witnessing this movement. The disappointment is crushing. Great word. The surprise is a type of elatedness that energizes, no different than a response energizes me or the right invitation, energizes you. It puts chemistry, energy in the body. Not because you ate some superfood 2 minutes earlier, because your body was waiting to have that energy requisition made. It's like, can life requisition some positive energy for a change? That's what the design side of your body is always asking, the not self of the personality. Now we got to get to start to see it, and the reflector reflects back, hey, you guys are seeing it, or you guys ain't seeing it. That's their job. They reflect back the health of us, and the health of us is dependent on us seeing our own strategies. Please, it's a very sophisticated strategy and a recognition of the movement between disappointment and surprise. Don't treat it like a simple event and a non-event. And don't feel like you have to wait the lunar cycle every single time. You'll find out when that is. Sometimes you'll recognize, I'm not sure I need to wait 12 lunar cycles, whatever the case is. It's all good. Just recognize you're in a lunar cycle. Waiting the lunar cycle is your strategy, and plenty of things you see through the movement of disappointment and surprise before even 28 and a half days is out. So I like it. I like this one. And who are they lets us know that we're okay. Who are you is limited, Moni. It's just me and you. What's my impact is totally devoid of everyone else. That's okay. I mean, not totally, but largely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then my thing is like, yeah, okay, no, oh yeah, no, yeah, So I'm stuck in the now, only ignorant otherwise. Essentially, that's true. And I'm self-embroiled in who am I? And he comes along and is like, hey, who are you? Yep. Who are they? The rest of us. What is that? The manifester. What is this milieu? All y'all together? They're reflecting back our planetary health. And that's why there's basically 1/100. It's about the right ratio to reflect that back for us. Recognize that movement. You're always seeing it. It has everything to do with the place you're in, the people you're around. Just those two, the place, the people, the place. It's right or it's not right.
Perfect. Mosey?
Mosey.
So, for our conclusion on not self and signature themes, they are personalized compass for navigating life's complexities. Not self themes of anger, frustration, bitterness, and disappointment serve as an inner alarm setting that you're straying from your true path. Signature themes, peace, satisfaction, success, and surprise, signal alignment and that you're living in harmony with your unique design. Tuning into these cues allows you to pause, pivot, or persevere with clarity, making decisions that honor your energy and foster fulfillment. Let these themes guide you toward a life of purpose, ease, and joy, where you can live correctly as you.
Purpose, ease, joy. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I don't even really know what to add to this. This is a perfect instruction to end this segment that we've just done about the signatures and the themes and the strategies. I can't think of anything to add to this because tune into your cues, please. Tune into them. It's an experiment after all, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
So
that's,
what do you,
that's the fun of it.
yeah, what do you do with your experiment? You witness. What else is there to do?
Yeah, you notice it and see what happens. See what happens when you follow your strategy and authority, and see what happens when you don't. Like
Right.
ultimately, it's like I'm not here to tell anyone what to do. Like you're gonna do whatever you want to do, but if you want to play this game, like that's part of the way you play it is like see what happens when you initiate as a generator and the sacral goes, nope, I'm not gonna give you any of that yummy juice. See what happens if
I don't wanna. Right.
yeah, if you start, offering unsolicited advice as a projector that's just trying to help and like how bitter and mad you feel, the manifester who fails to impact and people are tense and then they try to control you,
And they
the
do control them. They constantly are providing them this awful place that they're basically controlled, even though they're still fighting their way out. Yeah, it's awful
yeah,
for them.
exactly. Flip that with, manifestors. See what happens when you let people know. It's like turning on like your directional signal in the car. Like, hey, I'm going to turn left. Like, let people
Yeah.
know before, 2 feet before the turn. And then everyone's got to like slam on their brakes and get mad. With the generator, wait to see what your sacral responds to. Do that. Projector, wait for like the good invitations and the good recognition and see then if it's worthwhile to share your insights. Reflectors, wait that time that you need for clarity as you're going to feel into all the different energies over the month or longer. See what happens, see how you feel. It's part of the game.
Yeah. Tune into the clues and just bring it into just accept this large picture thing that has happened, and the reason the human design sciences and the knowledge and this genetic knowledge is in the world at this point is because we're ready for it. And so recognize that the chemistry of the body is our wisdom, not the mind, not the brain, not all the facts you can measure and all the things that those help with the wisdom. Oh, and it helps interpreting the wisdom, but the wisdom first comes through. And by the way, that wisdom isn't the coolest mathematical answer to the next formula because you're the math whiz savant. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just your truth, the thing that will lead you inside of your signature. That's a chemistry inside your body. That's where our awareness is unlocked. That's why we're giving you a strategy and authority, mostly a strategy tonight, to witness this difference between the signature and the not self theme that are opposed to each other, but work together to show you your way. Yeah, the simplest way to put it for a 4-year-old is, hey, I move towards the thing that feels good and away from the things that feel bad. You know,
Yeah.
that's that's what they did. 4-year-old was always the kid is always right because they would do these things naturally, and they didn't need a lesson on it. But then we conditioned them accidentally.
So play with your signposts, see where you end up and how you can use these energies with awareness to help you, just be a compass. Just act as a compass for your true north of when you're going the right way and when you're going the wrong way and when it feels good and when it doesn't.
Indeed. Thank you, Moni. This was really good. I think we got through a lot. Signature, and it's been a signature success, is what it's been.
Perfect. So, would you like to talk to our audience for a moment? I'm going to run away and come back, and then we're going to dive into part
Only if you do
two.
the same for me when you come back. You can get into the part, and I'll be back before you're done reading the first slide.
Great.
I
So
got
we
to
can
go do
both
the
have a
willy thing. Yep.
go have a wiggle. But
Yep.
yeah, so I'm going to run away, and then part two is going to be incarnation crosses, and then we're going to dive into the Sphinx, and it's going to be super fun. So check that out.
Yeah, I'll announce the Sphinx a little bit. So what we're going to be doing as we move into the incarnation crosses, we're going to do an introduction on just what is this movement of the incarnation cross itself. Why is it moving around a wheel? Why does it go counterclockwise? And you'll start to see how, genetically speaking, it represents our evolution. And you can see it in our evolution as we move around the wheel, and the wheel keeps producing children born at that time. We'll then have the next aspect in line. So we're going to go through that movement and sort of what it's doing. And we're going to end up in the Sphinx, the very first incarnation cross of the wheel. So that ought to be fun. Those two things are going to definitely get us through so that we can start this whole process of going around the whole wheel, because that's really what we want to do. And we've done it already with our transits, but we're going to now do it as it more relates to the crosses and the variations of them. So that'll be good. And then the second thing that's always worth pointing out is steer yourself in for an amazing reading, an analysis of your chart where we go through the actual parts of your chart. What is your strategy? What is your authority? What is your human design chart to you? and start to recognize you can also read that in others. And you'll start to realize what we offer and what you start to get, especially if you deal with a master who's been at it for a long time. I've been at this forever. I have mastered this system. And if you bring yourself into me for a reading, I'll give you more than 2 hours usually because I can't stop. I start generating and we'll get into all the aspects. And as soon as we're seeing what's going on, my responsiveness as a manifesting generator on the right angle cross vessel of love, 2-4, by the way, makes me a little natural at it. I end up getting into all the aspects that show you who you are and the things that you lament not being, and then the things that you're not. And when you see that, suddenly everything starts to change. Better than the last self-help thing, easily as good as a successful AA or 12-step program thing. We blow those things out of the water half the time, but those things are wicked valuable, don't get me wrong. Way better than, sitting on a couch or whatever. You'll see there's a lot of labels out there that we get to get gone for you. So steer yourself in for an analysis. We do the first couple hours. We'll do a little bit of follow-up. You're going to love it. And that's about it. How you doing, Moni? You back yet? I guess not. That's funny. Oh yeah, you can reach me at Instagram, or you can email me at dannyguru.com. Human design ends up being my life, so it's my favorite thing. As soon as you want to be read, I am psyched. And so we can do this almost at any time and accommodate even people who are on the other side of the world. It's just a little bit more difficult, but we'll get it done if you want to get it done. So other than that, I'd say I said about all my things, Moni.
Fantastic. I'm sure they're very interesting.
I forecasted a little bit about the incarnation crosses, so when you get in, just realize I'd already said some cool things.
Oh, I'm sure it's great. You want to go take care of your cat?
Yep. He's meowing, and I got to let him out, so I'll be right back. Back.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out through our little intermission. It's great having you guys here. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to pop them. Oh, there are comments here, and I totally did not see them. So hello, hey, Coco, and Evolve with Greg and Leah. I'm surprised usually it shows a little notification, so I'm sorry I missed you guys earlier. So Greg and Leah say, would you say the manifested souls are the visionaries of the world? That's a really good question. I'm going to pop that one back up for Danny as well. I mean, yeah, manifestors are amazing because they could just make stuff happen. In this way where I'll be stuck on something that is just looping in my head and I can't figure out a way out of it. And manifestors, just even having them around, they could just clear the path. It's a very Moses parting the Red Sea kind of energy. So I think they're calling them the visionaries of a world is definitely a really beautiful way of putting that. And I can totally see them as that, because manifestors is we're evolving through, we all have our different roles to play, and manifestors used to be the ones in charge telling everyone what to do. And now it's they're kind of, I don't want to say retirement because it almost sounds you're not putting them out to pasture, but you're oh, I can finally just do what I want to do. I don't have to tell everyone else what to do. They can just, as they're following their energy appropriately and initiating correctly into the world, then yeah, they really can be visionaries of the world, but just based on what's right for them and who's right for them to impact, and letting people know along the way. And the profound peace that you get to feel around a manifestor who is living correctly and tells you what they're doing, and not in a you need to tell me and ask permission kind of way, but just putting everyone at peace kind of way. So yeah, I think that's a really great way of phrasing that one. So thanks. Sorry for missing it. I know we're a bit late on that question, so I hope you're still around. And Jen says, so informative. Thank you. You're welcome, Jen. I hope you're still around and hanging out as well. We're about to go into part 2, which is going to be starting our Incarnation cross series, which is pretty exciting because we're actually going to go through all the different variations of the Incarnation crosses, because it's you hear about these kind of main ones, and then there's version 1, version 2, 3, 4, and all of that. And I've been very curious of what do all those mean and why are they different? Why are they the same? So the goal for this is to actually go through all the 192, 194, something like that. There's a whole bunch of them. All the different Incarnation crosses. It's probably going to take a year and a half as we slowly add them in as the second segment. And then we're basically going to be also going through this one. This is the Global Incarnation Cross Index. It's a yellow book, And so this series is also kind of my excuse to finally actually make it through, because I've been reading it in piecemeal, but it's hard to have a cohesive understanding of it. So if you want to follow along, or if you're interested, it's this yellow global incarnation cross index that we're going to be pulling a ton of information from to actually be able to compare the different varieties of them, and why there's one juxtaposition of each type, but there's 4 right angles and 2 left angles, and why all of that is. So I'm pretty stoked to get into it once Danny gets back, and here he is. Just pop it. Perfect timing. I literally was just kind of getting to that point. I'm like, I hope Danny comes back, because it's going to be easier once he is. So for part 2, we're going to be diving into incarnation crosses and human design. So this first part, we're just going to be doing kind of an introduction to what are incarnation crosses, why are they called that, because that's kind of a funny term, and kind of give you a little breakdown.
I can't wait to get into crosses. I said it in the beginning while you were gone. It's this beautiful movement around the wheel counterclockwise that shows not only our evolutionary path, but why it just basically gives us a reason as to why we're all coming in when we're coming in. I mean, it really does. It's like, oh, part of the master plan. We've all been looking for the master plan. Why is this happening this way? Well, the wheel answers part of that. Go figure.
Perfect. So thank you to everyone who's hanging out with us, who's watching and liking and subscribing. Really appreciate you. And feel free to ask some questions. I missed you guys earlier, but I'm paying attention now. So feel free, and we're going to get into some fun stuff. So
did we have questions earlier?
A couple, yeah. One actually specifically.
Can you ask it?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll pop this one down for you now. But so Evolve with Greg and Leah asked, would you say the manifestor souls is the visionary of the world? So I answered in my way, but I'm sure you can answer it really good too.
Well, absolutely. You guys create the doing. It is the visionary. It's just you got to get out of the expectation game that it is anything other than for you at first, and measure with your strategy and authority that the impact is right for you. You're making the right impact. So, I mean, that's really what it is. To apply the word visionary to it, absolutely. I could see that all day long.
Perfect.
There's another one?
No, that was the main one. Other ones were just like little compliments and like thanks and stuff like that. So, ready to dive in?
Mm-hmm.
So, incarnation crosses. So the incarnation cross is the composite of the sun and earth gates in both your personality and your design data. And it tracks the intersecting polarities as a cross. So it's literally like a line and a line, like two perpendicular lines that form a cross. And the incarnation cross indicates one's life purpose and provides an index of the human evolutionary potential. And in total, there are 112 different kinds of crosses. And if you count the varieties by quarters, because the human design wheel is split into 4 quarters, then there's 192 varieties. And then if you incorporate all the different profiles, like the 1-3, the 3-5, the 6-2, then there's 768.
There's a lot. And I'm only going to mention this once, but if you take that to the nth degree, there are millions and tens of millions, almost 100 million. It's wicked rare, because you can take that and multiply it by 5 bases, by 5 tones, by 5 colors, by 5 lines, and that's how unique we end up getting. That's 69,120 right there, times what you just said. You know, you see that it out of 8 billion people on the planet, when you get right down to it, there's anywhere from 60 to 90 on any one given cross, truly. So we're unique, guys, I guess is the point.
Yeah, when you start like extrapolating out the levels of like, cool, you have 4 types, but then you have single definition and split definition and quad and triple and all of that. And then you have the profiles, and then you have your specific gates, and each gate has a line, and each line, there's 6 lines, and then there's 6 colors and 6 tones and 5 bases. It kind of multiplies like some crazy fractal really fast. So you're very unique. Even if you have like a seemingly similar chart to somebody else, if you go down deeper layers, you're going to find the uniqueness between the people.
Yeah, there's exactly. And that uniqueness is so unique that in any one given gate, there's like 1,030, don't quote me on that, different possibilities, 5 times 5 times 5, 5 times 6 times 6 times 6. On one gate, and then when it makes a life force or a connection with someone else, they have 1,030 possibilities. I think that's the number. that they have on their gate. So when those two gates come together and make a life force, it is really unique. You'll see the same channel in 5 charts. Oh, look, they got this channel. Well, each person's channel is so desperately unique because of how many it took to get together in the first place that they aren't the same. And you can see that in the life. They're just similar.
Perfect. Ready to mosey?
Yeah, let's definitely, because we'll get caught up in that forever. I love
Yeah.
the math on that. I played calculator for an hour today, by the way, in advance of this, just to do some things again.
So here we're going to have just how to see it on a chart without going into any like super deep chart reading, but just so you can have a sense of it. You're going to first look at the right side of the chart where the colors and stuff are, everything's in black. And you're going to go to the design sun and the design earth. So design sun is going to be number 1, design earth is number 2. Then you're going to go over to the red side. So the personality sun is number 3 and the
Those are
personality earth.
reversed.
Well, no, but that's how you read it because it's 25, 46, 10, 15. You read the black and then the red for the incarnation cross.
I'm just saying the black is usually the personality and the design is usually the
Oh, no, you're
all
okay.
good.
The words are wrong. I'll fix it in post. There's always
No,
going to
all
be
good.
something on the
Just for
third
anyone,
line. No,
for
so you're
anyone
going to
else who saw that, it's still the same number of gates. But yeah, so you're
okay. So the numbers are in the right spots, the words in the wrong spots because I'm a third line. So I'll fix it in post for the after. So my apologies. So cross that out. It's the personality sun in black, the personality earth in black, which is number 2. Then the design sun in red and the design earth is in red. So then you're going to end up reading it from black to red, the 24, 46, 10, and the 15, which is a vessel of love in the first quarter. So it makes a vessel of love number 1 because then there's like the 2, 3, and 4. And then because the profile on the personality and then the design sides are lines 3 and then lines 5. So then it's a 3-5 profile, which makes it a right angle cross.
Exactly. And so when we're looking at this and just recognizing this becomes 70% of who we are, our incarnation cross really is, we're tightly bound to these things, as I said before. And so this becomes a great deal, ends up being a great deal of what we are. It creates a cross on the wheel, by the way. It does create what looks like a cross on the wheel. And that's why we call it a cross. And ultimately, it gives us everything else that we need to have to show this purpose that incarnation gives us. We are incarnated for a particular purpose and in a particular way. The incarnation cross tells us what that is.
Absolutely. I find it ridiculous. I can work on these charts and these pages for hours and hours and hours, and I'll always make some kind of stupid mistake.
That's so funny.
It is. So thanks for noticing. Sorry to everyone. I will fix that in post for the regular videos.
It's just reverse, guys. Everyone can see that. We're all good.
I know, but I'll fix it. But I just have to laugh that like my third line will always, I'm like, I think it's so good. And it's like, nope, you're always going to fall on your face, third line.
It's always a thing.
It's always a thing. So moving along, we have the right angle crosses, and these are very personal. It's about the person's individual experience. So the right angle crosses are when the profile is a 1-3, a 1-4, a 2-4, 2-5, 3-5, 3-6, or 4-6. That's just these personal kind of life forces. And what's kind of fun too is because I was always like, what is this right angle, right? You hear right angle, you think of a 90-degree angle, but then there's a left angle and juxtaposition. So you're like, okay, it's not a geometry term because I don't remember left angle or juxtaposition, in high school geometry. So I was trying to play around with this of like, why did Ra call it the right angle? And what I kind of came up with in playing with these graphics over here is it's like you have this line and it angles in on itself. It angles to the right in on itself, almost more like an acute triangle, and it's more self-focused. I have no idea if Ra had that in mind, but I found this graphic and I thought it was like super helpful in kind of understanding that concept. And finally, with the right angle crosses, there's 4 varieties of each. So you have like the last one, we have the vessel of love or the Sphinx. There'll be the 1, the 2, the 3, or the 4 based on what quarter it shows up in on the body graph.
Yep. So this right angle is very self-absorbed. We need to see that. It's the thing that this is about karma, and karma both in a mystical sense and in an actual sense, because the right angle people are constantly developing the karma that will exist, and the left angle people are experiencing that karma and universalizing out some kind of a message with it all. is what ends up going on. But the right angle people, they're fully self-absorbed first before they are then not when they need to be not. But mostly their starting point is a self-absorption. I,
Perfect. Mosey?
Mosey.
So next up, we have the juxtaposition crosses, and they're very fixed. And this one is just when it's a 4-1 profile. Like they're very unique in that. And for our little graphic, because again, juxtaposition is what does this mean? And it's like juxtaposition is putting two things together. And when I did that, my hands kind of made that pattern, which is how I got the little graphic over here. And it's almost like a bookend. It's almost like these two forces coming together, and it becomes this very fixed way of being, which makes sense to me, at least with the juxtaposition. And in terms of the crosses, because it's just the 4-1 profile, there's only one variety of each. So there's 64 juxtaposition crosses, but just one type of each.
Right, exactly. And the juxtaposition is acting like a knuckle. It's acting like a transfer box. It transfers us and makes us literally smooth our way from the right angle into the left angle. It's there to transition us from one into the other. And its fixedness is part of that transition. You run into a wall with it. On one side of the wall, the right angle, on the other side, the left angle, and then the wall itself. The juxtaposition stays incredibly, they're attached to their position and they don't bend very easily because they have a sort of what you kept saying, a fixed trip, essentially. And that's correct for them. And so if you're always trying to get your juxtaposition pal to or husband or wife to change something about themselves a particular way, it's not going to happen. It's not supposed to happen. They have a fixed way of going about things that basically acts as a buffer between the two, between the right and the left angle. It acts as like a shock absorber. It is fixed. It stays in that one shock absorber place and it absorbs the shocks from both sides and it stays its own fixed way. And in that, it becomes the transfer between the two. Just remember, if you're juxtaposition, you're 4-1. You're externalizing. You have a thing that you are onto, and it has everything to do with what you've just investigated because the 1 and the 4 are in harmony, and they are the foundation, 2 foundation lines in the hexagram. So,
Perfect. Mosey?
mostly.
So we have our left angle crosses, and these are interpersonal. And the profiles on this cross on these types of crosses are the 5-1 profile, the 5-2, the 6-2, and the 6-3. And for our graphic, in thinking of the left angle, then it's like, okay, you have your baseline, and then it's like you have this angle, but it's like angling away from itself. It's like this, like, was an obtuse triangle, where it's like, or an obtuse angle, I suppose, where it's like bigger than itself and it's taking in more of others. So it has this very like interpersonal, more interactive karma with the world kind of vibe to it. And there are 32 left angle crosses with 2 varieties of each.
The whole thing acts as a mixing bowl. Like I'm always referring to, the genome itself is always mixing itself up. And this is just part of that mixing bowl. There's 12 total. It's lopsided, 7 of one, and they're moving at a certain pace. Every 16 hexagrams, they start over. Then we have 32 of another, and they're moving at a slightly slower pace because there's only 5 of them, as it relates to adding up humans on the planet. And they're chugging along, 1 for every 2 quarters. And then there's 64 juxtaposition crosses, and they're chugging along at their own pace. They're much more rare in the world. They're only the last eighth of a amount of arc around the wheel compared to the rest of the line itself. And those guys literally fit in between all the rest of the other ones. So it's mixing things up. It's a constant mixing bowl.
Perfect. Mosey?
Mm-hmm.
So on this slide, I just wanted to like have these 3 graphics because I thought it was kind of interesting. Of that right angle, it's like angling in on itself, and it has like almost like a little smaller bite of like the Pac-Man pie chart, where it's again very self-involved. It's their own experience. Then you have the juxtaposition where it's like you have these two forces like pushing it together, keeping it on this very fixed track and fixed way of being. And then finally, like the left angle cross, which like angles away from itself and it kind of takes in more of the world and has this interpersonal dynamic. Again, I don't know if Ra had any of this in mind when he was coming up with these names, but I found the graphics helpful and fun. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I like seeing these words all just like this. So right angle, interpersonal, a certain amount of self-absorbed looking in, creator of karma, simply by the actions in your life on this plane with your incarnation cross. Juxtaposition, the barrier, the thing that is fixed, you described it perfectly, and it's participating in neither process. So it's the one thing that isn't either. And then the left angle is transpersonal. It's receiving the karma, it's living out the karma created on the first one, and it's transitioning. It's either transpersonalizing or transitioning us into the next thing. It sees out across the others, and it is constantly needing the other to see out across so that it can live out its proper existence. And then it's which transitions it right back into a right angle. So all the karma created by the right angle, sooner or later, that right angle is going to have to be transpersonal themselves to come back out. And, in an incarnation, if they're here for that, they'll live out this right angle again. We're constantly moving around this little circle.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, when we function as our differentiated self in the world, our cross literally but quite naturally takes over our life.
It does. It's supposed to. And by the way, it doesn't. Sometimes you'll fight it. And so even though it's doing its work unconsciously inside of you, you start living in odds to it. That's when the not self themes will come in most profoundly. The thing is, when it's the opposite of that, there's the keynotes you used before: peace, bliss, and joy, I think were the words you used. They were really good. Mm.
So that was our little incarnation cross intros, like a little taster, just to get it started.
It's going to be a long pursuit to go through all the incarnation crosses, like I think we're planning to do.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a little while, actually. There's nuance between them, but just the movement around the wheel counterclockwise. If you just stare at the wheel, you'll realize it tells a story. Oh, 6.5 days later, new children are being born. And this energy's in the world connecting me up in some way. And if I'm a reflector, I'm part of the program itself. Um, and then it moves to the next gate and the next gate. And if you just tell a story about the gates, you can see, oh my God, this is our evolution. And because it repeats every single year, it basically, sooner or later, we build up and we've reached the right temperature and mass and whatever it takes, and boom, we mutate. So for all of science that has been looking for the missing link, if we were to work together, we would go back and see like, oh, this many cycles of this before, that's why we can't find the missing link. It was in a mutation because of this. Ultimately, I think we could get to that because we're so clever, we're such clever creatures. We just have to cooperate on that. Mutations that they don't find the missing link. How did we get from Lucy to this thing, right? We found the skeleton remains of such and such. No, there are missing links, but they're not missing when you look at the wheel.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a question from Jen. Asks, I'm a 4/6 man, Jen, with the incarnation cross 58, 52, 18, and 17. Would love to hear your insights. And I confirm that is the right angle cross of service. Yeah, so I gave a little blip, but I figured we can give Danny his magic touch.
Oh my God, it's so good. So if you're 58, 4/6, that means you make your friends in the world, and literally, I don't know how old you are, so if you might already be up on the roof already, but as you make your friends in the world, you do them through the act of service. And your frustration and everything about where it's going to be the frustration as a roadmap and manage, and so sometimes the anger and agitation, the brute force, what was the word I used again? Aggression, that can sort of spontaneously percolate for a moment. These things are all going to be for you a function of, is the service appreciated? You're very much, look at your cross. Every gate in your cross has something to do with the collective circuitry, which demands that you share. And the service makes a definition, 5818. If a cross has a definition, it's going to be weighted towards that definition as something wicked important. So what is 5818? Judgment, correction, challenge. It's adrenalized energy to notice the thing that can be fixed and fixing what has been spoiled and all of these things. And so the 18 is in your sixth line. So you're always sort of getting away with that, by the way. You're the little bodhisattva with all of that. The Buddha is what the line's called, if I'm not mistaken. That's the 18 and the 17 in the sixth line. And they almost make you immune. So you should get used to service being something that is a response for you, especially if you're not emotional. You'll see where you get hijacked. Your job is to watch where your service gets hijacked, because you can't help but to want to do a bunch of work and do a bunch of things. And the thing is, certain bitterness feelings will come in because the definition of this cross is a projected channel. So not only frustration, but just sort of pissy. Don't let yourself get pissy. And the last thing is, don't let your lover or your boyfriend or your husband or wife or whatever think that you're judgmental on them. Just because you think it doesn't mean you always have to say it, or put it out there that the other has to do something about it. Because you're going to always notice that dust got swept under the rug, that the things got put in the wrong place, that something isn't quite right. And your energy, when you speak, you need to know the power of it. It sounds challenging. What you're good for is going to the town meeting when they didn't address the right issue, and out comes your voice. Okay. I want you there. And in 100 positions just like that or similar, where your voice is so important because it brings the energy to correct as a role model. Go figure. I got a lot more to say about this, but we got to move on.
Yeah. So Jen said mid-50s, so off the roof. And also, I meet people through helping, which was really perfect.
Yeah, that's how you meet them. That's correct for you. You're not being used when that happens. And in case you have an open ego, you got nothing to prove. You don't have to say yes. You get to say no. Just remember that.
Perfect. So now we're starting this big old crazy project where we're going to go through all the different incarnation crosses because I want to, and I think it's going to be fun. So we're going to start off with the right angle cross of the Sphinx. So first off, I have a little bit of symbolism on the Sphinx. So we have the Egyptian Great Sphinx of Giza, which has the body of a lion and the head of a human, which the Sphinx of Giza was seen as a guardian of wisdom, often positioned at the entrance of temples or pyramids, symbolizing the threshold between the mundane and the divine. And the role is to guard secrets, offering direction only to those who are ready and worthy. And then you have the winged sphinx of mythology. So this is Greek and other ancient mythologies, Mesopotamian, Persian, had the winged sphinx, often with the body of a lion and the head of a human and the wings of a bird. Most famously known in Greek mythology through the story of Oedipus, where the sphinx poses a riddle to travelers. So this kind of theme of like riddles and challenge. And so the Great Sphinx is a gatekeeper who tests travelers with riddles and reflects the Sphinx's role in prompting self-awareness and intellectual clarity, aligning with providing direction through insight. So both the Egyptian and the winged Sphinx embody the archetype of a the archetype of a guide, and the Egyptian Sphinx silently points the way through its presence, while the winged Sphinx actively tests and directs through riddles. So authenticity and mystery. The Sphinx doesn't reveal all its secrets. It invites others to discover their own path.
That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff to add on to the Sphinx, just generally speaking. It certainly does help point the way. The right angle cross, we're going to show it on a wheel next, right? Okay, so
We're going to just start showing the graphics. So we'll get to it.
yeah, I'm just saying, so this as a cross, this right angle, the Sphinx apparently keep pointing the way, and the way will always be a little bit of mystery because it's empowered through the vessel of love, and the love is universal of all things and ourselves in our bodies. So we can't really know what that is until we start seeing it.
Yeah.
Right? We experience it, so gotta
Yeah.
point the way.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit of context because I was like, I don't know, the Sphinx is interesting, so why not? So the right angle cross of the Sphinx, all four gates are in the identity center, and it's about direction. So starting off with the quarter one, which quarter one is the quarter of initiation, and it's a very like mental inspiration kind of quarter. And it's the 13, 7, and 1 and 2. And this occurs around February 2nd to the 4th, more or less. And these are people with an individual direction whose unique way of remembering experience brings a living, vibrant past into the future. And going into the yellow book that I referenced, the Global Incarnation Cross Index, with the Sphinx 1 operating through the 13, it's the gate of being empathic and open. It's the channel of the prodigal child. And it's about being able to store experiential information and being able to hold secrets inside and bring those secrets out. They're here to give guidance and direction to others. The 13th gate is always looking backwards and never looking forward. It's always looking at the past, reminiscing, remembering, and it's collating the experience. It's the root of memory that becomes history. So when you're meeting the Sphinx in the first version with the sun in the 13th gate, don't ask them where to go tomorrow. Ask them what happened yesterday or last month. And that's where you're going to get the value of their guidance.
Yeah, they help determine direction through the past. So we're going to need to put all 4 versions of the Sphinx together if we truly want to get the right direction, in other words. And lo and behold, each year provides us all 4, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like they're the collector of the human experience and about the capacity to remember and ultimately the capacity to articulate out of that remembrance.
Truly, it ends up, because the 13th gate ends up being a codon in our body that stores the collective human experience for us all. That's its job. Humanity's direction has everything to do with the collective experiences and the individual experiences as a collective, because we're all doing it individually. Every experience, every time I hear the word experience, I want this experience or whatever, I think of Ricky Bobby when he raised his hand and said, I want to go fast. In the racing movie Talladega Nights. It's so funny. I want to go fast. We want to experience. We want to experience. I don't know what is it we want to experience. All of it. 13 then is the direction, the collective direction shared as a function of the storage of all of that experience of the past. And it's a storage right up till now. So it's not like the past has to be something in antiquity. It comes right up to our front door. It's right up to now. So it's current past or long past. It doesn't matter. It's all of it.
Yeah,
Direction through the past.
Yeah, Ra also said it's you can understand the quote, the future is the past racing toward us. And this is where we get all the cliches about history repeating itself.
Stupid history is not supposed to repeat itself. We have a working gate 13 in a Sphinx, which shows up in our very first quarter of initiation. So if humanity would just get the memo, we wouldn't have to repeat it. We've got every mechanism, including a mind, that measures just fine to help finally avoid all of that. Do I sound like I'm nagging a little bit?
A little bit, but
Yeah.
maybe we need some of that. So
Mhm.
you ready to dive into quarter 2?
Sure.
So with the quarter 2 Sphinx, this is the quarter of civilization. It's about material form. And the numbers are 2, 1, 13, and 7. And this occurs around like May 3rd to the 5th. And these are influential confidants who combined the aesthetics with a deep resonance to humanity's material needs, maintaining continuity with the past while mutating the collective's material direction. And so this is in the quarter of civilization when all throat gates are going to be activated. So there's this pressure to manifest and get things done. This is the gate of the driver where the magnetic monopole is located. And this is the place that gives us our illusion of separateness, our connection to geometry and our movement in space. So gate 2 is the one way we're all given direction. So all the Sphinx perspectives, right? The 13 looks backward, the 7 looks forward, the 1 is individually there in the moment. All of them are fueled and directed by the second gate. And the second gate Sphinx is the real theme of the entire direction of humanity, right? Is moving towards beauty, as Danny always says. It's always what the second gate represents. Whether it's naturally beautiful or you have to work hard to get to that beauty, it's all about being in that direction of beauty. And it's one of the most beautiful things to understand about our evolution and our direction, that we're always moving towards what is beautiful. And so sphinxes give that direction. The second variety opens everything up for you. It's the beauty of the cross. They are open. They open up all the possibilities of direction. And the sun in the second gate is much more open to these possibilities and these many different ways of describing and seeing things in that direction of towards beauty. And Ra also says that talking to them can be confusing because although they know the direction, it's difficult for them to describe it. They can sort of point to something in the future, point something in the past, but all they know is the direction, go that way. But they can't really help with anything other than go that way because it's the way towards beauty. Anything else can kind of become confusing.
Yeah, it would need to refine that as it moves up and out for expression, which lets us know, as we pointed out before, that expression is the name of the game. That's what we're doing here. 90% of our action, our manifestation, is not necessarily action, it's expression. You know, that's our whole gig. That's what's driving consciousness. All the beautiful words and all the beautiful energy saying them and having all the beautiful meaning behind it all. We're loaded with it. Ask any other animal population, will be like, those humans, man, they talk a lot.
They're noisy.
They're noisy, man. They just won't shut up. I'm gonna raise the alarm. It's 5 a.m. See if they like it that way. Two, gate two is so funny because it starts the throat process, which houses all the throat gates because it's starting civilization. And since two is the most receptive, it's all yin lines. Its whole design is to show that the root of all direction is the product of our receptivity to it, not our manifestation of it. In this gate, too, even the manifester and all of humanity is reminded we're all waiting. We're waiting as a receptive act to know that the experience of the direction in our creative way in something logical is going to happen. And I also find it funny that in the quarter where all the throat gates are, it starts out with the yinnest of all gates. We think of throat gates very much as a masculine thing. Uh-uh. It's housed and given its total shelter through the yin aspect of gate two. Gate two says I start this whole process, and even gate 33, I think, ends it, right? As part of the four ways. And the whole throat center being in this one quarter, civilization creates the illusion of our separateness. It concretizes it. And gate two is the holder of that illusion so that we can live a life. They go really well together because on either side of it, we're able in our spiritual selves to rise above this illusion of separateness, to re-recognize all aspects are part of one. We're part of a greater cycle of every last thing all the way through. We're all an aspect of God in one way, shape, or form, and every other thing you can think of. So civilization is the receptive, finished out through the act of a receptive act of remembrance. After 13, we find at the final end of civilization, we finally get the definition that is the prodigal. We got the 33. We got the 13 in the very beginning of the story. This is like a mythical place to round out. They're almost in opposition to each other, but yet they are not. You know, they're just as close as you can get without being that way. So direction towards beauty, towards the aesthetic. Love is light, like 58 basically has as a first line, gate 58, that what was her name? It wasn't
Jen.
oh yeah. Yeah, your 58 basically starts that process, love is light, and then two picks that up. And the only other thing to say about two is to recognize that it's highly dependent on the cleanness of its gate 14. Look at it like if it creates the one tap root that makes it all the way down, so that the dang thing can grow into a nice fat rutabaga or a carrot or whatever it's going to be, right? A big thing of potatoes, because its taproot went all the way down, and that taproot is the 2 and the 14 to tap into the energy and ultimately receive the mutative direction of the channel of mutation even below that in the format. So there's a lot of juice moving into this creative endeavor, a lot of it, and it provides that movement towards beauty empowered by the vessel of love, the other incarnation cross inside of this G center, all housed in the G center. So this stuff is really a compact thing. And 2 is the expression of just wild genius, essentially. They can't say why. It's just a unique process in a pulse, and it's totally receptive. No different than rightness, like a right arrow. It doesn't know. It just drives towards and away from the lack of beauty. And if you short circuit that, humanity's not happy. And every manifestor's angry and generator's frustrated, and all the other types are the themes of their not self, all because gate 2 is getting polluted. So time to clean it up. It doesn't know what needs to be done. It is what needs to be done. So we go about the business of being in an experiment so we can take away all the dust, get rid of all the grime and gross around whatever's there of the not self, so that gate 2 can do what it's supposed to do. Receptivity as the magic capacity to drive a direction.
Perfect. Ready for 3?
Sure. By
So
the
this
way, if you have gate 2 in your sun, because that's your cross, stop trying to know. Just be. 13, you can try to know a little bit because you got to share something. But gate 2, no, you just have to be. Same thing will happen when we get to gate 1. But
perfect. So for the Sphinx quarter 3, this is the quarter of duality, and it's very about like relational bonding. And it goes 7, 13, 2, and 1. And this occurs around August 5th through the 7th. And these are people of influence equipped to lead, whose sound logic and attention to the past play a key role in directing humanity towards a secure future. And then Ra also says with the gate 7 in the personality sun, they have a role in leadership, logical leadership, and they're looking for a way to be influential. The 7 is a logical process looking forward and trying to project into the future. And it's the most proactive cross of the Sphinx. Those who really want to be directors and give you a direction. With the personality sun in gate 7, they inherently want to lead because that is the role, and they're actively wanting to be an authoritative leader where they do have that authority, and it really wants the opportunity to give you direction. And this is a person who really needs to play out their role depending on the nuance of their cross.
there's a reason direction as a function of the past came first. Because if you look at it this way, and what you just read, and basically that which is true is that it empowers this. Because at the moment the life force inside of humanity's evolution is fully created, which is the prodigal, I remember, the act of that remembrance of the collective experience of our past up till the present is sitting there right before. That happens at the moment before gate 7 comes along in the wheel. Gate 7's given a huge assist by 33 turning into a definition, and then boom. So basically, through the act of remembrance, we move into the army, and the army marshals the forces. By marshaling it, it interacts and shares with and spins up a relationship that creates the forces that create leadership, which ends up being called an alpha. But it's still an alpha that had to go through this process. It's not able to just take it. It goes through a sharing process that develops and spits out the alpha. And very often that alpha is the person with this channel, because obviously they would have that whole life force inside of them to go and make a contribution and be influenced. I lead type thing is what, gate 31 says above gate 7. And you had said this is like the most prolific, and it is, because it's this now has been the quarter of duality, right? Dubé, is that what this is? I forget the
Uh,
other.
I mean that with the star that it's leading out
I
of.
think
Hang
it's
on,
Dubé. I
hang
think,
on.
but I'm not sure. But I know it's duality,
So
and
with duality, it is. I don't even have that written down there. Sorry.
it's all good.
I'll
We don't
find
need
it.
it.
No, I'll find it. You're asking.
Okay, well, I'll keep talking. So with 7 receiving the life force
Jupiter is
of the,
with duality.
it's Jupiter. Okay, so which one's Dubé? Is that
That was for gate 2.
oh, so that is civilization just before it. Anyway,
Gate 7.
so as this gate 7 enters this duality, this place where we get together and where more children, where the children are really made, because civilization, basically civilization built the house, and then it's time to nest the house. And this is very important business. It is the most prolific because the alpha must truly lead, leading into, so look at civilization as a random act that, because it worked out, because gate 2 was the receptive, the root of all direction, it was the best gate to have at the beginning of civilization, because whatever civilization needed to be, it was going to be to serve duality. Each quarter serves the quarter in front of it. That's common and easy to see. So gate 7 says, I lead, and I'm going to lead, and I'm going to be influential, and we're going to be, and this is going to mature into a thing, because we just got the maturing process of what was the prodigal jolted into the beginning of this quarter as a life force suddenly coming into play, because here we are in the wheel. And so I just find that an amazing thing. It's like we got all of gate 2's gifts now as an empowerment for gate 7's. Let's lead this thing properly. Gate 7 to me is the bringing of the good mother and the good father that keep order in the general society and in their, respective communities, such that general society works well and the kids grow up. That's gate 7 to me. That's its biggest impact, is what it took, because now it's like, well, we got a society because we built civilization. Okay, who's going to drive it? What are we going to do here? Let's let it be driven by the guy who's looking forward out the windshield instead of the cat who's driving from the rear view, or the other cat who's just driving from whatever, gate 1. Oh, look over there. That's gate 1. I don't know if I got too esoteric with that explanation, but I
Oh, no,
just
it's
want
your nature.
I just wanted to spit all of that out.
Well, you did. Now we have it recorded.
Good deal.
Ready to dive into the 4th version?
Did it make sense, or was it?
I
Is it
I don't know. I think you said some good stuff, and if it didn't make sense, it didn't. But the main thing is that these people with the gate 7 in the personality sun are here to lead. They're looking out the front window, and the people who want the esoterics get the esoterics. The people who want it simple take it simple.
take it simple? Thank you, Moni. That was easy. I feel so much better. I got nothing to prove.
There you go. So finally, we have the Sphinx in the 4th quarter, which is the quarter of, was it transformation?
Transformation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, mutation.
Mutation, there it is. So the quarter 4 is the quarter of transformation, and it's very transformational. And so this goes 1, 2, 7, and 13. And these people are born around November 5th through the 7th, more or less. And these are creative individuals trying to build a legacy to express and immortalize their own direction, providing and maintaining a mutative direction through example. And then from the yellow book, with the sun, personality sun in gate 1, the gate 1 is the creative. So if we look back on the Sphinx, the 2nd gate is the direction the vehicle is going. The 7th gate is looking out the front window, wondering, where am I going? The 13th gate is looking through the rear view mirror, trying to figure out how far she traveled and where did she come from. And the 1st gate is in a brown study where the eyes are unfocused and you see nothing. He's contemplating his navel as the car moves along, and he is right here in the now. And there's nothing more totally selfish than the 1st gate. Let me get my thing out. I want to express my direction. This is not the collective Sphinx that's saying, come here and let me tell you where to go, like gate 7. And it's not the abstract Sphinx, which is, come over here and let me tell you where you've been, which is gate 13. This is the individual Sphinx saying, get out of my face. I don't care where you're going. I know where I'm going. And the individual is absorbed in her own direction and not concerned about the other. So the nature of the first gate is very unique. They're very deep into their own process. No matter what pain it costs them, don't get in the way. Right? This is a very different kind of sphinx. And if you're in a plane crash in the jungle with one of these sphinxes and you see them take off, follow them. She's not going to help you. She's not going to wait for you, nor is she going to slow down because of you. But if you can keep up, you'll survive. It's a different kind of direction, a direction by example, which doesn't call attention to itself naturally. It doesn't say, hey, look at me and what I'm doing. It's just going in their own direction.
It's a burning driving force because gate 1 is the creative, and it's the opposition to gate 2, all yin. So gate 1 is all yang, 6 yang lines. It's the only hexagram that is all yang, and its creative force must drive a direction the same way the sun must drive its yang force into the earth to create the form. It's the same thing. And this, the creative, is an example, and that's its primary contribution. When gate 8 comes along of the throat and provides access for gate 1 to make its manifested contribution through whatever it might explain, say, articulate, and do, and give, and be, all of these things, it's always a mutative act of something unique. And that's why it's in the quarter of mutation. It names the quarter of mutation, that is this transitional force moving us through the end of the life cycle, through the death process, back to the revival and rebirth, back into gate 13. That's just the sort of a cosmic movement of all of that. However, the practical is, if you have a gate 1 and you're a right angle sphinx, you're incredibly self-absorbed, because gate 1 is the thing that is a lot of gates of deafness and things that won't be hearing the other in the now very often, and gate 1 is one of them. It is so interested in being unique and different. Its melancholy is too much sameness, where it's just like everyone else and it can't seem to express its unique contribution. That's its melancholy if it can't do it. And so to combat any kind of sadness like that, what it does is it bees itself, which is always stunningly different from everyone else, because we're all unique. I mean, we're just all unique. So gate 1 as a direction gives us the creative. And I'd like you to notice the other 2 versions of the Sphinx, the past and the future, clearly live to serve. In the Penta, it does it too. Same thing in the Wa, it does it all the way through, lives to serve the 2 and the 1. That's what they do. We need to know where we're going so we can keep 1 safe so it can mutate. We need to know from where we came so we can keep 1 safe so it can mutate us. So everything is serving to become what is the great contribution. So if you're a gate 1 in your sun as a sphinx, in a right angle, you have an amazing contribution to make. And do witness how sometimes you appear to be sort of a jerk to the other because of your capacity to sort of ignore them, or not take part in, or be obstinate towards, or just, I'll go back to ignore, the other. Just recognize, open up sometimes, because it is part of your way. The collective past and future are here with us. We do all need to go in the same direction ultimately. And 1 is the creative, mutative of what that direction will end up being truly. It gives the answer for the purpose of the direction. Just like the individuality of 28 and 38 give the purpose of us in the first place. It's all purpose stuff, and it makes its contribution by doing so.
Beautiful.
So be yourself, man. It's great. Just trying to be a total dick. Basically, I had to say it. I had to. I don't edit that if you can help it. It's just anyway.
Great. You feel good about quarter 4?
Yep.
So, in conclusion, The right angle sphinx, which is all identity center gates, and it's about direction. The right angle sphinxes, these are natural beacons radiating direction and clarity by embodying their unique identity, guiding others not through force but by example, aligning with their inner truth to illuminate paths forward. Their purpose is inspiring and leading others towards their own alignment, helping navigate life's uncertainties with vision and authenticity. Sphinxes transform collective perspectives by sharing insights drawn from the past and possibilities for the future. Sphinxes are here to be true to themselves, acting as a lighthouse for others, whether through creative expression in Gate 1, intuitive vision in Gate 2, authoritative leadership in Gate 7, or empathic listening in Gate 13. They help others move from old patterns to new possibilities, aligning with their own unique paths.
Right angle cross of the Sphinx starts out our greater planetary movement, our greater global cycles. And I only bring that up because it provides the full of direction that we're going to end up going in. And when you come back down onto the surface, be aware that until you get into your strategy and authority and your experiment, you understand your type and what definition you do or don't have. If you bear this cross, it'll feel almost lonely for you at times because you often feel like you're the only one that can't tell if you're in a direction. And the only really exception to that would be Gate 1 more so because it can't tell where it is half the time regardless, but it learns to deal with that as a creative process. But regardless, just back to very often you don't know the direction. Just be aware. Part of how you see where your direction goes is witnessing in the direction of others, because half of the Sphinx is a shared business. It doesn't matter that the sharing serves the uniqueness. I get that, but it doesn't matter. Half of us is sharing. And it's wicked important you recognize that. So be part of it all. Don't worry about the direction that you don't necessarily see for yourself. Recognize that your strategy and authority will tell you through your satisfaction and your peace and your victory and your surprise and the joy of all of that. It will show you the direction that you also helped instill in others. Witness it deeply and add it into your experiment, because it's something you have to witness a bunch of times, like learning the subtle differences between closely related plants. It might take a couple seasons, right, before you get good at not pulling out real plants because you thought it was a weed or vice versa. It's a great analogy for it. So it sophisticates itself into your awareness, but you got to let it.
Beautiful.
That was my cherry on top.
That was a really good cherry on top. I picked up on it.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. So yeah, that was our first installment of our attempt to make it through all the incarnation crosses. So great job, Danny.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. By the time I get to the fourth, I'm struggling to grapple these things and cement it in place so we can move on. Because I always feel like we can't move on. I always want to stay in the same place and actually it to death. My Gate 9.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I could
but then
see.
There's more, and then there's more, and then
Yeah, and I could see that your right-mindedness trying to be strategic.
Yes.
And I'm just like, stop trying so hard. Just let it come out.
Well, it's a process. I don't know if well, we'll see. We got 190 some odd of these things to do or something. So good luck. Woo.
Yeah, but I have it kind of figured out. So I figured we could kind of today was definitely a bigger episode, but it definitely went on a bit longer than I thought. But I figured we have our main section, and then section 2 is going over some of the incarnation crosses. And if we did that consistently, it'd be a year and a half ish. So I don't know. I figure if we just spread things out, we'll get through them, because I'm I don't know. I want to study this with Danny.
No doubt. No doubt. All right. Well, I'm done. I got to go. I got to go get on my Wise Dome.
Yeah, you got to do your thing. So thank you, Danny. Thank you to everyone who is hanging out with us, everyone who is liking and subscribing. It really helps us. Thanks for asking questions. And
I wore my 80s shirt too. I had to say it. I wore my Kiss concert t-shirt. This thing's been around for 25 years.
Perfect, Danny. So thanks for hanging out. Next week, we're going to be going back to the Godheads. We have Thoth and Harmonia for part 1. And then part 2, we're going to be going through the water foundational trigram gates for our next part of our hexagrams around the wheel. So we will see you then. Thanks for hanging out, and catch you next week.
See you next week, everyone. Love you.
Bye.